Welcome back to The Last of Us Part 2. The game...
Still going.
Yes, trust me, Jova. This playthrough is 44 parts long. We're not even a third of the way.
How long was the original Last of Us LP?
Well, remember, sure, I combined the main game with the DLC, which leveled up to 25 parts, I think. I mean,
the main game mixed up.
I'll double check. Go ahead. Well,
for comparison's sake, audience, yes, we've also had playthroughs that are way longer than, 40 or 44 parts long. But you want to know the main difference? The pacing was better, and, there was content to help iron out stuff here and there. Like our Ace Attorney runs. Those have overall good story and dialogue here and there. And if you want to go for something more of a direct comparison here, our Final Fantasy VII remake playthrough is probably going to be longer than 40 minutes.
Well, that's like a whole JRPG, so that's different.
Well, that's the thing, Joe.
Sure. The remake is what I'm talking about. Like, that's like...
It's still a JRPG, and those are long, even though it's part one of an even greater...
It's more so the fact that a game like this doesn't need to be this long. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to make a game like this long, there needs to be the proper content and the transitions to it. Like, now maybe if Pedro were playing the game badly, I could understand why the section is taking a while, but no, for the most part, he's been going through it as, one ought to.
Not really, and this is my second playthrough recorded basically right after I finished the game for the first time, and I'm playing on light, on an aka easy mode. Not very easy, because there's a very light option, which is the very easy option. I'm playing on an easy option, New Game Plus. So basically, like it still has enough of a challenge so that it's not a cakewalk. But for the most part, I'm basically just plowing through the game because I already know what to do. I already know what's coming. I already know when the game is gonna throw infected at me, so I can prepare myself in advance. So
it's like I said, I mean, this sequence of us escaping from the base is taking quite a bit of a while, and I get it. It could take a while, but it feels like we're wasting precious game time with this section where, again, I get it. Maybe in real life it'd be that way, but as someone who's in charge of the story, do you really need to make it take that long?
I think it's the primary issue for me is the fact that the story doesn't justify this length. Again, maybe if we actually had some meaty character development between these two, it would be better. But no, like it's like again going back to my bird analogy. The fucking old man refuses to throw more than one grain at a time, and it's starting to piss me and it's starting to piss me off.
So what are you gonna do? Peck out his eyes?
Yes, I'm gonna peck Neil's eyes out.
But that's another thing, though. I get that it's a tense moment, but there could actually be a legit way that we could have more interaction between Ellie and Dina during these sections, as like a way for them to try and calm down or mention, oh god, this reminds me of that. And Lord knows, considering how Dina goes on her whole survival thing regarding her heritage.
It doesn't help that for a certain reason that me, Shiroi, and Jova already know of, let's just say later on, Dina's gonna basically become incapacitated, and she's basically gonna drop from the plot altogether. So,
yeah.
For a specific reason that my co-commenters already know, except for Drips.
Like, seriously, if now were ever a time, it would be probably the best time to try and flush out Dina some more. And it doesn't always have to be through dialogue, but showing the length she's willing to go to. Hell, I don't know.
Dina's just here to support Allie emotionally, but she doesn't even do it that well. She's just there, and that's it. That's literally it. She's just there.
This goes back to part of my argument that I do think Tommy should have been the one Ellie was with instead of Dina. If this is all they were going to do with Dina, like, sure, they may have done a bare-bone job for Tommy, but Tommy already has more motivation than Dina to want to do this, and Tommy is someone who the characters know better.
But Dina loves Ellie so much.
Yeah, totally.
Go check the fucking traps. I'll go at the end of rotation. You want to handle explosives in the dark? You ever
Are you
What-
guys not aware
about-
that there's somebody who's been culling your numbers?
What about you, Shua? I don't think you've voiced your thoughts on Dina as a character yet.
I mean, we know little bits about her, but not how it, affects her. So,
I think a good way to
So
sum up
she's just
Dean
there.
is like,
That's what you're saying. She's just there.
yeah, it's the same with all the characters, really. I just don't really care that much.
the best way to sum up Dean is like this. Imagine if you have a puzzle box of all these puzzle pieces, but not all the puzzle pieces are there. Like, you got maybe the outside borders, which technically make up the skeletal structure of her personality, but none of the important pieces in between that help form the full picture of the
Yeah,
puzzle.
What they've actually, I think the way I would describe it is, they've given us a character profile, but they haven't translated the character into the scenario. We
Pretty
just have their
much.
profile with basic info, and yeah.
So like a trading card.
Wow, yeah.
Huh.
It's just one of those cases where, like, the game doesn't actually make its dialogue. Even when there is dialogue between them, the game doesn't make it count. Like, we don't learn anything about their relationship at all, aside from the fact that aside from the fact that they like to fuck each other. That's basically all. That's basic. The highlight of their relationship is the fact that they fucked over weed, basically.
That's so romantic.
I don't even.
By the way, that guy screamed out another guy's name. Just letting you guys know.
That's because I'm a piece of shit, Jova. Don't you see? I'm a piece of shit, and this
Yeah,
game
you're a terrible person, Pedro.
and this game is making me rethink my ways. I think I'm gonna have to, I think I'm gonna have to stop playing video games, guys. Video games clearly have turned me into a violent psychopath.
Yeah,
How
totally.
could you?
Uh,
I mean, I don't know if Neil missed the memo, but you do know that video games are stuff that allow us to play as dastardly villains like Decepticons and Transformers games, the freaking Joker in a lot of DC games, and hell, Jason Voorhees in several games. If video games supposedly are making us feel like crap for playing as the villain here, well, they don't. I'm sorry. Again, if you want your audience to feel a certain way, well, there are ways to do it, but the way he's going about it feels more like if you were trying to make a movie. Because the problem with this is that you're trying to make us feel crappy for killing mooks that are trying to kill us from the get-go. Like, okay, this only really works if we're playing as someone like Superman, who very well could knock these guys out without killing them. Ellie is obviously not a superhero, mind you. Like, even if she were to somehow leave, these people would probably track her down and try and kill her. It's that kind of world.
Mm-hmm.
Kill or be killed, ironically. And like I've said before, Undertale. Now that's a game that can get you to feel sorry for killing so much as a random frog by accident.
and that one is technically a children's
It reminds
game.
me. It reminds me of.
It was incredibly ham-fisted about it.
It reminds me of that criticism that certain people like to leverage at Uncharted, saying that Nathan Drake is a psychopath because he keeps constantly killing people. Well, people try to kill him. What do you want him to do? Not defend himself? No.
Yeah, that's actually the thing, because you say that, Dwibs, and technically you're right to an extent. And then Deltarune comes in, where Toby was just kind of like, oh yeah, like, some people just need a good slap in the face. So
There's also
just...
people also make the argument that, how can Nathan Drake kill so many people in a row and still have a cheerful personality? Well, have you never seen adventure serials? That's kind of what Uncharted is, a throwback to 1947, much like Indiana Jones. Remember how in the first Indiana Jones movie, Indy literally kills the man with a sword in cold blood in a scene that's very tongue-in-cheek? Adventure serials tend to be like that. They're not meant to be taken all that seriously, guys. Come on.
I mean, not only that, but let's think about it. In a way, they kind of have to detach themselves from that situation because otherwise they go mad from grief with everything. Like, yeah, I won't deny, yes, it's something that happens in real life, but some people do have to detach themselves from it for doing their duty.
How the hell how the hell would the military soldiers go to war if they weren't able to do that? You know, they would, they would collapse psychologically the moment they go into the battlefield.
And again, I get it's a situation that sucks, but hey, when you make a
The world is not the world. Newsflash: the world is not a rosy, peachy place where everything always goes well. Get over it.
Not only that, but when you make a world as dark as Last of Us, you cannot expect people to always react with emotional investment in everything, because well, otherwise their chances of survival wouldn't be as big per se. Hell, wasn't that one of the themes of the first Last of Us as well?
Yes. Well, it was more so that Joel constantly detached himself from any people because he didn't want to, he's been careful not to get attached to anyone ever since Sarah died.
Well, I'm talking more so about Last of Us also rationalizing how people had to do things that normally they wouldn't do because of the situation.
Because of survival, yeah. That's the other thing as well. For Joel killed, but whenever he killed anybody in the first game, it was either because of survival or because he wanted to save someone he loved. Ellie is literally just going off killing people for revenge, and that's it. And that's literally it.
And okay, to be fair, the person who did it was an absolute crap.
Although, like if we go by that route, shouldn't you at the very least try to go straight to Abby instead of how about this? Like, here's the thing: the game doesn't even give you an option to just knock the enemies out cold. You have to kill them. You know, you either sneak by them, which is not always possible to do. Or you kill them. There's no way to actually... Hell, Metal Gear gives you the ability to knock the enemies out cold. You're not forced to kill anybody.
Hell, one of the Punisher video games that was based off of one of the Punisher movies doesn't force you to kill everyone. And that's based off of the Punisher. But that's the thing. A lot of people think, oh, the Punisher, he just kills willy-nilly. No, actually. He mainly only kills and tortures the absolute worst of the bunch. Oh, don't get me wrong. If you're someone who crosses him, you're going to pay for it dearly. But he's not exactly foreign to the idea of sparing some people, if only because, not everyone needs to die just because they were a criminal.
Alright, since the silencer is only one shot away from Lily, I'll just throw it away, and I'll make a new one.
But, yeah, it's funny you mentioned...
Didn't Warzone... Warzone kind of fell victim to that plot, to that mistake, didn't it?
Yeah, that's a thing with some writers of Punisher, like. Yes, Tubes?
Because I don't recall the Punisher being so flashy when he killed.
No, he's not really supposed to be. The Punisher is supposed to be like that down-to-hero sort of superhero, that down-to-earth kind of superhero. But, he's... Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say he's kind of like, a Last of Us guy in a otherwise idealistic world. I mean, he's a guy who had his whole family killed because of a cop and robber shootout gone horribly wrong.
Mm-hmm. They killed his family.
Yeah.
Alright.
And yet, even him, for as much as he is not that well in the head, even he doesn't kill blatantly. Now, okay, to be fair, Pedro, you said that the game could go try straight to Abby, which, admittedly, they did try to. The problem is that the story detours so that now we have to kill all these other people. Which, part of me just wonder how much of this is actually Ellie's fault. Like, are we going to blame her for so much as trying to go and kill Abby? Because if that's the case, that's a whole load of semantics that, is going to take forever to untwine. And, like, oh boy.
Bank of Meridian. Interesting name.
the hypocrisy really comes into play when the game tries to get us to like Abby, who kind of kicked off this whole plot when you get down to it, because she herself was out for revenge. And mind you, nearly got herself killed for it.
Yep. All right, full. Okay. Oh, and more. There we go. And okay, I think that's about it for resources in here. So
Okay.
I think we should be ready to move on.
Maybe it's because you're playing on an easier setting, but this game does feel a lot more generous with the ammo handouts.
Oh no, that's because of the easy difficulty. Yes, on harder, the harder the difficulty, the less resources there are.
It's weird. I thought you played the original game on easy as well, and I don't recall it handing out ammo as much as this one
It's
does.
because the areas are bigger, Jova. Therefore, more drawers to look for, more closets to search. You know.
Like, dang, the WLF really just leave all these guns and ammo just lying around for anyone to pick up, don't they?
Well, these buildings are not theirs. Like, this is just, things that were here before the apocalypse and were left in here. That's kind of...
Guess a lot of people were really stocking up for that apocalypse. Like, geez, it makes sense in Resident Evil 3 because, there was a lot of gun nuts in Raccoon City, but holy cow.
All right, let's move on.
Whatever, I tease, though.
It's more so for the purposes of gameplay. Just roll with it.
Yeah. Oh, wait, but Pedro, we're not supposed to be enjoying this game as a game, according to the creator.
Yeah, true.
Well, people are, so tough shit, Neil.
Yeah. I kind of get the mentality, but it just feels dumb. You don't want people to enjoy
Hold on, guys.
the game.
There you go. Dina helped Ellie climb over this thing. There you go. That's the highlight. That's her highlight in this game so far.
I think what you said a few parts ago was accurate, Jova. This would have worked better if it was a movie. The whole you're not supposed to have fun doesn't really work for a video game.
Yeah, because again, we play video games for fun. Like, sure, yes, story-wise, we may feel bad about it, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to have fun actively playing the game. Like, Neil's mentality seems to be, I don't want people having fun whatsoever.
I think it's a different case, Shira, because fun is subjective. So I think it's one of those cases where it depends on what kind of person you are, depends on what kind of a game it is. It's one of those cases where, oh, there you go. See, thanks to those ground traps, if I draw the zombies into them, there you go.
Like, people are saying this is a fun action game.
This
is a fun game.
Yeah, as a stealth action game, it is fun. And that's one of the big issues that, like I've mentioned in part 1, Shira. If Neil really wanted to create something different, like he should have made it so that killing in this game is hard to do, or even frustrating, or something like that, or at the very least, like it would make you stop wanting to kill, and by that in that sense.
There's an idea.
Again, like I said in part 1, kind of like trading card. Candelabra, actually. So she's a fire elemental. She's 60 brains and 80 brawn from the Society of Champions. Her real name is Sophie Alcoin, a beacon in the darkest night. This heroine earned her moniker when people first saw fire emitting from her hands and flowing through her air. Originally from the volcanic Auvergne region of France, she fell into an active lava pool while protecting her little brother from Dr. Uckman's henchmen. Left for dead, she emerged from the pool alive and capable of wielding fire as a weapon, so long as she doesn't get cold. When not working with the Society of Champions, she spends her days hunting Dr. Uckman, whom she believes is holding her brother captive.
Get it? Dr. Uckman? Druckman?
Yeah, basically, there's one of the villains in this trading card game is called Dr. Uckman, and when you see the drawing, it's Neil Druckmann. So Neil Druckmann making himself the villain of this superhero universe.
I know that was all meant in fun, but goddamn, is that a fitting metaphor for the status of this game?
Anyway, yeah, this particular part introduces the same kind of floor traps that Bill had in the first game. However, they will only be available during this particular part of the game. Although, to be fair, To be fair, the first game also was guilty of this, where it introduces this new thing, and then it has it for this section, and then it just drops it. So to be fair, this is a problem. This was a problem in the original game.
Although, is it just me, or does it feel like they're throwing a lot of gimmicks at the wall for just this one area in the game? I don't know, like, maybe pace yourself better, spread out the gimmicks for different areas or whatnot. Anyway, Pedro, going back to what you were saying, when you describe it the way you do, it sounds like they should have basically done an Undertale. Like, I don't know, maybe have it so that, yes, you can kill people or knock them out, but then there's sort of a reward system based off of how many people you killed or whatnot.
And you're going to have to work your ass off to do the latter.
Yeah, again, that's the thing. Undertale knows how to get it so that you will regret killing people, and also knows how to make it hard to commit to doing the genocide run, because, yeah, there's a lot of work into doing that. And all of the same, you get your just desserts for doing a genocide.
And narratively, it can come across as a bit hand-fisted, and to be fair, it was to an extent. But gameplay-wise, I feel like it actually worked very well for what it did. Considering this was Toby's first game also, I think it was quite impressive.
Yeah.
Like I said in part... Hold on, I think this is... hold on.
I kind of expect more from somebody who's
that's they're even referencing Bill right
in the
now.
industry,
Hold on.
Ooh.
Excuse me.
Someone who wants us to feel her love.
Speak of the devil, we were just talking about Undertale.
That's actually that's actually foreshadowing for later. But yeah.
That character.
But yeah. Actually, no. There's going to be a cutscene now. Actually, so I'll say it later. We're going to get another piece of foreshadowing for later. Actually. Oh no, never mind. I think I'm gonna check what's in here first. Let's see what's in here. Ammo and a note. Let's see what the note says. Viv, I hope this gets to you. I saw what happened. The WLF broke into your place and carried out all the stuff Jimmy took. Jewelry, IDs, ration cards. He wouldn't answer their questions. It just kept saying he didn't know where it came from. I tried to talk to them to explain how hard it's been here, how Pedro forgot about us, and we all had to do things we're not proud of. They seemed to calm down, and then they found a Seraphite prayer in his pocket. We tried to stop them, but we couldn't. What's a Seraphite, you might ask? For later.
Huh. Oh, yeah, Seraphite.
Let's just say...
ham-fisted metaphors are ham-fisted.
Exactly. So let's see.
But yeah.
So this woman apparently wants us to feel her love. Interesting. All right, there's going to be a cutscene now, so hold on.
Okay.
And this cutscene even foreshadows what happens later. Not that it makes it any more laughable, but whatever.
Oh dear. Oh, another horse.
So yeah, they also killed Tommy's horse.
Wait, the affected?
Well, look at it, Joe. As you can see, someone started eating the horse raw.
Oh boy.
Also, it's so disgusting that they vomit.
Well, to be fair, Dwebs, some people are a bit, itchy about seeing stuff like this. So.
No, I get that. It's just another thing off the we want to make this game really unfun.
Well, she said it was more so the smell than the dead horse, so...
That's the thing. That's the thing. She already knows what that foreshadowing is for. It's actually not the horse. She just lied to Ellie. That's actually foreshadowing for something else that's going on with her. She already knows what it is. And Jova does.
Either that or Ellie just told a lie and she vomited.
Let's just say, Dwibs, you're in for a bit of a quote-unquote surprise.
To go back to
Not
what...
in part, though, I don't think.
To go back to what we were discussing, or even then, like I said in part one of this playthrough, in the same way that Sam Bridges has been detached from humanity for years at this point because of the trauma he suffered through, he's decided to pick a job that is completely solitary and stuff like that. And the player basically does this solitary job where we don't interact with anybody in the world when we're doing the package delivery, and we experience everything. Like for example, for example, I'm not even kidding you. When I'm done doing the levels with Sam and in Death Stranding, and I'm done, and I need to take a sleep with Sam, so because Sam needs to sleep. When you see, there's even an animation of Sam going, ugh, like as in you just came from a hard day at work and you throw yourself in bed and that kind of stuff. Because of the controls, I'm right there with him. Like I'm like, I feel you, Sam. I'm tired too, and I actually like that. Some people do not like the fact that the gameplay can make you feel tired, but I actually did enjoy it on that way because it literally made me feel what Sam was feeling in that regard. In the sense, like I said, Kojima actually committed to this whole concept of having unconventional gameplay for a different purpose. Neo, however, not really. That's kind of it. Like, if you wanted to do something like that, commit to it. I'm actually open-minded and willing to give those kinds of games a shot, but commit to it.
And again, just take some inspiration from Undertale if you want to actually make people feel bad for it. Or maybe have something... I mean, okay, would it really be too much work for them to have put in alternate endings? Because that feels like one of the best ways to actually get players to care about the narrative is if they're allowed to in some way craft it out for themselves here and there.
Let me use them all. Sorry. Go ahead and finish, sorry.
I get that Naughty Dog don't often do it, but maybe that would have been an interesting thing to try. I mean, Lord knows they were certainly, quote-unquote, taking risks with this game, even though a lot of companies can't seem to realize that there's a difference between taking risks and just doing stuff that will obviously piss off fans.
Okay, I actually have another example that I can use. Basically, Shiroi, this isn't this. Oh, hold on. I guess I'll say it later. Go ahead, Jova. Continue.
Another good example is Red Dead Redemption 2, which has a bit of the morality system here. That's not necessarily based off of how much you kill or whatnot, but it's based off of how righteous a fellow you are. Like, if you're someone who's only a thief mainly to look out for the little guy and support justice in a sense in an otherwise corrupt system, or if you're someone who's much more of a ruthless bandit of sorts out in the Old West. If you go for, like, the bad morality of stuff, where you have, like, a bad reputation, you will get gunned down by Micah Bell, one of the most dastardly villainous characters in gaming that, is, needless to say, a scumbag. But it'll kind of have been what you were going for with your morality. Whereas, if you go with the good morality here, you get a rather more touching ending for Arthur Morgan, per se.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, it's not that hard. Like, I get that Naughty Dog don't really do alternate endings, but surely they could have. And hell, technically they have done stuff like alternate endings before, as early as Crash Bandicoot. Yes, I know that that's very rudimentary, but still, I don't think it would be completely alien for them to try and do alternate endings based off of what you do in the game.
Mm-hmm. All right, so basically the idea is that when you be careful, because now there's tall grass around, so it becomes slightly harder to see the wires. So you have to...
and be careful. Make sure you're leveled up, otherwise a level 6 Squirtle will come out.
sorry, Drebs. I think you're thinking of the wrong game.
Well, it's a game that was almost as controversial as this one.
Actually...
Wait, which one?
Sword and Shield.
No, Drebs, I'm not. No, the controversy
was nowhere near as controversial.
The controversies with Sword and Shield was that it was incredibly rushed, clearly incomplete, and it feels way too archaic, even by Pokemon standards. Like, basically, it's the first ever home console Pokemon game, so it was fair to expect the game to at the very least step it up, instead of just relying on the exact same formula from Red and Blue, because it's starting to get to it's one of those cases, where, don't get me wrong, the formula still technically works, but it's starting to get to a point where even Dragon Quest has been trying to keep the formula fresh more than Pokemon. Even fucking Dragon Quest. So it's starting to get to a point where
Dragon Quest had its own issues with that.
Well, if you're talking about 10, true, but even 11.
Well, even 11 had its own issues. Yeah, that follows the god awful MIDI music.
Well, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant to my argument though, because that's because of Koshi Sujiyama, not because the developers actually wanted that. That's not really relevant to my point.
Yeah, that was because the composer was an asshole.
That's not really relevant to my point. And even then, and even if it was because of the developers, that has nothing to do with archaic gameplay. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it's one of those cases, Wibbs, where it's because the franchise has so much potential. Could you imagine how awesome it would be to have an open world online Pokemon game where you can meet trainers right there on the game's world and battle them? That would be awesome.
Well, you can do that in the open areas in Sword and Shield.
Oh, you can?
It was sort of yeah, you actually can do that. But, okay, back to the main point. That's the thing, though, Droops. Pokemon Sword and Shield' controversy, that was a kiddie pool compared to the Last of Us 2 controversy. Like, Last of Us 2 had absolutely confirmed abuse of the employees, a god-awful ending leaked here and there, and the contents of this game are, well, pretty bad. Not only that, but apparently it's also helped expose corruption within gaming journalism to the point where it's pretty much all but confirmed that Sony may have cooked the books with the reviews, something that they're no stranger to.
It's also a very... The game in general feels very amateurishly made. Like, you can literally switch weather conditions from going to one step to another. I'm not even kidding. You can literally go to a point in the wild area where you'll take a step into this part of the wild area, suddenly the weather changes completely. But if you take that step back to the previous weather conditions.
That's not how you're supposed to do gameplay transitions. And look, I'm just saying that. Indie games feel like they have more effort put into them than this game. And it's not to say that there wasn't effort put into this game, but it's not
so much that. It's more so that developers were rushed, clearly. Like, they can't do anything worse because the Pokemon company is forcing them to just shell these games out annually. That's the problem.
Oh, wait. Were we talking about Pokemon there? I was talking about Last of Us 2.
Jojo switched back to this.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Whatever. My point still
2.
stands, though. Just to finish what I was saying real quick, since we're almost done. I can use another example. Basically, sure, this doesn't come across in the playthroughs that we've done because, it only comes across if you actually play the games. But for me to weigh those games, do the same thing as well. Because when you play Last Guardian or Shadow of the Colossus, the controls are intentionally made to have more weight than you usually expect from games to them, so that you can, like, for example, in those bits in Last Guardian where you have to pull those big levers, like, it's hard to explain, you have to play it, but when you actually try to do that movement,
you need to feel the weight, basically.
Like, it makes you feel the weight, like, and it's one of those. It's the same thing with.
I like that kind of thing.
That's another thing. It's another thing with Last Guardian. Actually, now that we think about it, Last Guardian intentionally makes the game frustrating at bits to simulate what it is like to actually, raise a pet.
Yeah, you're trying to tame Trico the entire time.
Obviously, if you made Trico your typical AI companion, the game would be technically less frustrating, but as a result, the experience would be completely destroyed that the game is going for. Because if you don't believe that this creature is real, the whole game falls apart.
An easy way to put it is like, well, you have to put more work into it than you would expect from a video game.
Exactly. It's one of those cases where you can, it's one of those cases where you can have what is technically frustrating gameplay. It just needs to be done in a context where the player understands and can understand where it's coming from. Like, whereas. If Neil knew what he was doing, he would have applied some of that in this game. But no, the gameplay is very conventional. And as a result, the whole game not fun thing doesn't really work. If you wanted to make this game hard to play, and by hard I don't mean challenge, I mean hard as in it's hard to even keep playing it. Commit to it. You should have actually had the game. Like, I know that obviously you would lose sales because of it, but at the very least you would be committing to your bloody vision.
Yeah.
All right. Tune in for the next part, everybody.
See ya.